Well, guys, today we are going to discuss the protein hydrolysis. In this, we are going to discuss the degree of hydrolysis of the protein, where the amount of the amino acids will be determined with the help of the ninhydrin reagent. This method is quite similar to the quantitative method which we have already uploaded, where the quantitative method which we have uploaded is again a simple method where the free amino acids will be quantified in the sample with having the standard series of the amino acids. In the same manner here also we are going to do, but with the raw samples, where which we are going to be extracted either by the food sources or by the processed food sources. Now here this is the one of the method where further we are going to discuss an elaborate discussion about how it is going to proceed. And coming to this, in the next slide we will see that a few points on what basis the method is going to proceed. It is the technique which describes the assumption that the free amino groups and a free carboxyl group are released every time when a peptide bond is hydrolyzed. So here peptide bond hydrolysis is nothing but the addition of the water, where a strong reaction will be introduced with the help of either the strong acid or the strong base, or an enzymatic reaction, where this is going to lead to the breakage of the bond between the covalent strong bond between the two amino acids, which are going to form the polymer by adding one after the other, and also they are going to become the protein structure further. So these amino acids will get hydrolyzed, and amino groups or the free amino acids or the small peptide chains are going to form. So here under this experiment we are going to quantify these particular free amino acids or the amino chains, where how this concentration has formed from a particular protein which is present in the particular substrate, that is the sample. Now here this method is totally used to evaluate the progress of protein hydrolysis using the concept of this particular hydrolysis. So here when you are going to consider the degree of hydrolysis is nothing but the evaluation or the determination in the form of the percentage. So this is what we are doing in this experiment. The ninhydrin reaction evaluates released amino groups by comparing the amount of the free amino groups before and after hydrolysis. Here a peculiar kind of the action or the concept is seen in the ninhydrin reagent, where ninhydrin reagent is only going to react with the free amino acids or free amine ends of the protein. So here because of that what will happen, amount of the free amine ends is going to give the intensity of the ninhydrin. Because of that further we can do the analytical method, that is the analysis can be done with the help of this chromogenic technique which has been induced in this particular experiment, and with the help of this chromogenic technique we can further measure the absorbance of this particular color, that is the chromogen, with the help of the spectrophotometer. So because of that what will happen, we will be able to do this quantification, or degree can be estimated, or the percentage can be estimated, that how far and how good the protein has been hydrolyzed. So I request your good self to subscribe to our channel. With the help of your subscription and liking of our videos, whichever you have watched, is going to encourage us and also the other viewers which are going to come on to our channel. So I request to go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Well, guys, coming to this slide, in this we are going to understand how does the enzymes are going to act on the proteins and the hydrolysis is going to takes place, in the sense that how the proteins are broken and how the water molecule will be introduced. Before to that, we have to understand that how this same process is going to takes place in the digestive system. So here in the digestive system, there will be the two prominent things is going to be in place, is that the pH of the stomach is going to be around 1.5 to 2.5. that is very acidic pH. This acidic pH is going to help the digestion of the protein molecules which we are going to consume through our food. Now here what will happen, this acidic pH is going to help those enzymes where they are going to catalyze the amino acid chains, where they are going to break the amino acid chains by targeting the peptide bonds or the amino acid linked amine and carboxyl bonds. So here these strong covalent bonds will be broken with the help of these enzymes. These enzymes collectively called it to be as the peptidases or proteases. When these enzymes act upon the longer complete proteins, these proteins will break down into simple amino acids or small peptide chains or amino groups. Now here what will happen after the breakage? After the breakage, the digestive system will be able to comfortably absorb these particular peptides or free amino acids. The small peptides and free amino acids will aid in different biological processes within the body. Hence, this is the particular phenomena is going to takes place within the stomach. Well, here the proteases or peptidases enzymes will be grouped according to their specific nature of the action, like aspartic, glutamic and metalloserine, threonine and cysteine. So these are the 6 groups. Apart from that, there will be one more group which is arginine. Now here each group of the enzymes will be having their specific nature during the catalysis. So here we are not going to discuss those, but here we are discussing how the catalysis of the protein is taking place and how the introduction of the water molecule is going to take place. But as per the specificity of or the function of this particular group of the enzymes are going to differ from each other. Now here further the same thing we are going to discuss on the basis of the pH itself. Now here as per the pH, these enzymes will be classified into form of the acidic, neutral and basic proteases. Now here acidic proteases in the sense those enzymes which are going to show their action or catalyze the protein in the acidic medium. The neutral one are the enzymes which are going to be active during the neutral or moderate pH, and the basic proteases are which are going to show their action or catalyze during the basic pH or alkaline pH. So these are the 3 different groups based on the pH. So here there will be 2 mechanisms which is going to take place, but when it is considered under the classification of the pH, these are going to fall under the single mechanism, where the single mechanism will be acidic mechanism. And here if you are going to consider serine, threonine and the cysteine, again here there will be the inclusion of the arginine in this neutral or moderate pH mechanism. So here in the both the mechanism, the common thing is that these enzymes are going to force the water molecule to get introduced by breaking the peptide bond within the adjacent amino acids. That is, the H plus is going to be given to the NH, that is the N terminus of the polymer chain of the protein, and OH will be supplemented to the C terminus of the polymer chain of the protein. Now here, apart from this, the other one more feature is that in the acidic pH, having enzyme groups are going to be only active during the acidic pH within the medium, whereas the neutral pH enzyme groups are going to be active during the neutral pH or the moderate pH only. Now here, apart from this, there will be such a way of the mechanism that the nucleophilic attack on the peptide bond is going to take place, where it will be further hydrolyzed, where the hydrolysis will be that the water molecule will be introduced. Here in the diagram you can see this particular group which is getting activated during the acidic pH, and the enzyme is going to push the water molecule by breaking the peptide bond, and the water molecule will be pushed, and further the two different products will be formed, product 1 and the product 2, out of the single protein. Like this, the many fragments will be formed as depending upon the how many targets the enzyme has been targeted. After the breakage of the peptide bond, the enzyme is going to be retained, and further the enzyme again it is going to show its action on the different target. So this is how the acidic pH group of enzymes are going to act upon the protein polymer. Now here, coming to the second mechanism, here also the activation will be by the enzymes. Here also the nucleophilic attack on the peptide bond is going to take place, but here it will be very different manner. So here the proteases are going to form the catalytic triad in the sense they are going to togetherly form a trinature reaction as per their specificity, and they are going to form a nucleophilic attack. Here you can see that the enzyme is going to act as the intermediate. So here the enzyme is going to take part in the action completely, and further it is going to supplement or give the water molecule to the adjacent N terminus and the C terminus of the protein within the covalent bond of the peptide bond. This is going to break the bond, and further the enzyme is going to be revived. So here further the products has been formed, product 1 and the product 2. Here you can see it is the C terminus, here NH2 is formed, OH has been added, and N terminus. Even here you can see the same kind. So here whatever the kind of the mechanism, the ultimate result is that the addition of the water molecule by breaking the peptide bond is going to take place. So the further the separation of the protein molecule or cleavage of the peptide bond or breaking of the peptide bond is going to take place. Now here if you take the second mechanism's complete action, here you can say, as I said, it is the catalytic triad, and nucleophilic attack is the common one between the both the mechanisms, and here it is the covalent acyl enzyme intermediate formation is going to take place, and here you can see catalysis by releasing the second half, and the reviving of the free enzyme is going to take place, that is the regenerating of the enzyme is going to take place. So as we know that the enzymes are the catalytic in nature, never involve as the reactants of themselves, so they are going to get revived. So here this mechanism is common. So both the mechanisms are very important to understand, because similar enzymes which has been used in the commercial market for the hydrolysis, in this same manner they are going to act upon the proteins to hydrolyze them. So in this experiment also we have used an enzyme which is also going to act upon the protein in this same manner. Hence we have included this small brief part of the enzyme activity, how it is going to act upon the proteins and why it is important to understand this particular enzymatic protein hydrolysis. Now coming to the next slide. In this slide we are going to discuss the alkylase enzyme. So in the previous slide we have discussed how the enzyme is going to act on the protein and how further it is going to give the results. So now we are going to discuss which is the enzyme we are using in this experiment. Here we are using the enzyme called to be as the subtilisin. It is a protease obtained by Bacillus subtilis. It's the species where this Bacillus subtilis produced enzyme is commonly or commercially known as the alkylase, where as per the concentration or the enzymatic activity, it will be labeled as alkylase 0.6 L, alkylase 2.5 L. Now here the alkylase is the liquid form of the enzyme. Preparation is going to be a protease suitable for use in the high temperature and moderate pH. Now here moderate pH in the sense the neutral pH. It is neither the highly acidic nor the highly basic kind of the pH. It's the slight acidic or slight basic pH. So more than that, it is going to be a inactive enzyme. It is not going to take part in any kind of the catalysis, and it is not going to give any of the results. So here the pH is very important in this reaction. So because of the pH, the reaction is going to give the results. A good pH, a good result. If it is a bad pH, then there is no result. Now here this alkylase enzyme is one of the suitable one to perform the experiment, as the pH is going to be the moderate pH, and it is suitable for the higher temperatures. So here high temperature is nothing but the more than 45 to 70-80 degrees. Now here I have struck two words. This detergent products, in the sense here these alkylase enzymes has been used from many decades, or from the day of the detergents has been introduced, where these alkylase enzymes certain concentration will be present in the detergents. So the detergents is going to be more effective in removing the certain stains which are not removable by the other chemicals which is present in the detergent. Now here this alkylase is also produced by Bacillus licheniformis. So there are two species of the same genus, that is the Bacillus, from which we are going to produce the alkylase enzyme. Now here this alkylase enzyme is the endoprotease enzyme, which is the serine type. So already I have spoken that there are different groups of enzymes. Here different groups of enzymes, in the sense there will be the enzymes which are going to act with their some specific features. As per those specific features, those enzymes will be added to that group of enzymes. So in the previous slide we have discussed like 7 to 8 groups of the enzymes. So each enzyme is having their own specificity, but they have been divided into two mechanism groups. One will be of the acidic mechanism and other will be of the neutral pH mechanism. So here when you are going to consider endoprotease enzyme of the serine type, it is going to split the peptides and polypeptides into smaller peptides by targeting the peptide bonds near the center of the molecule. Here it is very specific and direct line targeting peptide bonds near the center of the molecule. If you are going to consider a 100 or 200 amino acid long polymer of the protein, here you can say that either at the 60 amino acids or 100 or 150 amino acids, this particular alkylase enzyme is going to break. So the 200 amino acid chain, polymer chain, is going to break into the 3 or 4 small peptide chains. Neither it is going to act on the completely the extreme N terminus or the completely the extreme C terminus of the protein, and it is not going to remove one by one amino acid. It is going to directly act in the center of the protein polymer. So because of that, what will happen? The small peptide chains are going to be formed. It has a very broad substrate specificity, in the sense here on many kind of the substrates it is going to act. It can hydrolyze most peptide bonds within a protein molecule. This is already spoken here itself. Peptides and amino acids are formed which are either dissolved or dispersed. Now here dissolving or dispersing, in the sense it has to be diluted and further it will be stored for the further processes. So alkylase is active between pH 6.5 and 8.5. So already I had said that the moderate pH, it is 6.5 and 8.5. It functions between 45 degree to 65 degree centigrade with maximum activity at about 60 degree centigrade. So the range is between this, and the maximum activity has been seen at this particular temperature. Now here, if there is the increase in the temperature, there will be the fall in the activity of the enzyme. Now here there are some foods which will have the inhibitors which will inhibit the activity of the alkylase, like in eggs, potatoes and blood. There are many inhibitors which are going to definitely act against the alkylase. So alkylase is gentler on wool and silk proteins than some other proteases. Should be stored in the fridge at 3 to 5 degrees centigrade. Do not freeze. Now here, if you are going to freeze the enzyme definitely it will become an inactive enzyme. So you should not freeze any of the enzymes. So it has to be kept at the lower temperatures to preserve them. So here it is at 3 to 5 degree centigrade, and it has to be seen that it should not be freezed. Now when you are going to consider further, in this slide we are going to discuss the ninhydrin. Ninhydrin is the ninhydrin hydrate with the pH of 5 and at 100 degrees centigrade for a standard period of time is a powerful oxidizing agent which decarboxylates the alpha amino acids. Now here it is going to react by oxidizing the alpha amino acids at the pH of 5. It's the acidic pH at the high degree, that is at the boiling temperature. Now when you are going to consider further, amino acids generally react with ninhydrin to yield carbon dioxide, ammonia and usually an aldehyde of one carbon atom fewer than the original amino acid. Now when you are going to consider here, this is the ninhydrin, which is again called it as the triketohydrin hydrate. So in simple words we will call it ninhydrin hydrate. So when it is going to react with the amino acids, alpha amino acids, that is the free amino acids, it is going to yield carbon dioxide, ammonia and the aldehyde. Here you can see. So here once it is going to react with the amino acid, it is going to form the hydrin-dantin. Now here all amino acids reacts with high amount of the ninhydrin to form a bluish purple color compound, but proline gives yellow color complex. Now when you are going to consider here this particular point, these 2 points are going to discuss about this reaction. Now when you are going to consider the high amount of the ninhydrin, here this particular product again reacts with the ninhydrin, that is the hydrin danting. Here you can see the reaction. So the excess amount, the high amount of the ninhydrin is going to give one more molecule of the ninhydrin to react with the hydrin danting. So here what will happen, the purple color formed a chromophoric compound which is called as the Rohamann's purple by the reaction of the amino acids in acid solution with ninhydrin is attributed to the anion of the diketohydrin dilidine, diketohydrinamine. So here this is the Rohamann's purple formula structure. This is the proline yellow color complex. This is the bluish purple Rohamann's purple complex. Now here what we spoken, diketohydrin dilidine, diketohydrinamine DYDA is related to this. Now here this an intensely colored bluish purple product is calorimetrically measured at 570 nanometer. This will be measured at 570 nanometer, and proline and hydroxyproline give a yellow product whose absorbance is measured at 440 nanometer. Here this is the one of the wavelength for the proline, that is the 440 nanometer. So this is regarding the ninhydrin, how it is going to react with the amino acids or the small peptide chains of the proteins. Now here we have discussed 2 slides. One is the alkylase enzyme and other is the ninhydrin reagent. These are the 2 importantly required enzyme and the chemical chromogen which is going to help to perform the experiment. Further is the required materials. Here we are going to see the substrate sample solution containing native protein. Here you can take, that is the hydrolyzed substrate or any containing sample solution containing the native protein. So here further the enzyme which we have discussed is the alkylase, and the pH has to be adjusted appropriately. And further is the buffer, which is very much required and important to perform the experiment. And further is the 3-normal HCl, it is also very important. And further standard solution and standard solution. Standard solutions are prepared in 2 different forms. One is of the leucine and other is of the proline or hydroxyproline. So leucine is for the free alpha amino acids, proline is for the proline itself. So here leucine is for free amino alpha acids, in the sense any amino acids except the proline. Here proline is specifically is for proline, not for any amino acids. So this is the difference which we are going to keep in this experiment, where the standard solutions will be of 2 series. So further is the water baths which are very much required. One will be of 85 degrees centigrade and other will be of 100 degree centigrade. And further is the glass test tubes as required. So these test tubes has to be arranged as per the volume which we are going to take during the experiments. Further is the spectrophotometer, which will be able to give the results for 440 nanometer to 570 nanometer. Further is the glass spectrophotometer cuvettes. And further is ninhydrin reagent. This is how you are going to prepare the ninhydrin in the standard manner. You can reduce these whatever the component or constituents in this, and you can definitely make your own solution of your required volume. Further, in this slide, we are going to discuss how to prepare the hydrolysis sample. Now here, we are going to determine the appropriate amount of the substrate, which is going to have appropriately equal for the enzymatic action, where it is going to be used for the hydrolysis reaction. Now here, the substrate appropriation in the sense that the minimum requirement of the protein in the substrate should be of the 8%. So here, for example, if you are going to take any food source or the food substrate, then if it is of 100 milligram, there should be the 8 milligrams of the proteins, minimum 8 milligrams of the protein in that particular substrate. That is what the requirement, because to get the results the minimum requirement is of the 8%. More than that, there it can have more than that of the protein richness, but the protein richness at the minimum requirement is of 8%. So that is of the weight by weight. So here, and the calculated enzyme at a ratio of 0.012 Anson unit per gram protein. In the sense here, the used enzyme will be of 0.012 enzyme activity, that is the UI. Anson unit here in the sense the UI. The Anson unit is the old method of symbolizing or denoting the enzyme activity. So here now you can use UI also. Now here the amount of the protein in the substance solution can be determined by using the Geldof method to determine the nitrogen concentration and then multiplying this by a factor. Here the factor of 6.25, that is the F subscription N, Fn. So here again this factor, it is called to be as the protein factor. Here protein factor in the sense within the substrate, with the help of the concentration of the nitrogen, we will be able to understand the amount of the protein is present. So whatever the concentration of the nitrogen is present, that will be multiplied by the 6.25. So further we will be able to understand the amount of the protein is present in this particular substrate. Now when you are going to compare these 2 points, one is the minimum requirement is 8% and other is the calculation. Here you can take any substrates which are already determined with the protein concentration as per this point. Otherwise you can also take your own substrate and perform this particular Geldof method of calculation, and you can note the protein amount in the substrate, and further you can go ahead with the experiment. So here, as per this, the further experiment has been proceeded as per this point, and here you can see the example, that is that 100 ml alkylase hydrolysis reaction uses the substrate containing 8 gram protein. So the substrate will be having 8 gram protein, 0.16 gram alkylase of the enzyme activity 0.6 L, or the 0.04 gram alkylase of the enzyme activity 2.4 L, and further is the buffer at 100 ml. Now here you can see this is how the constituents has to be taken to prepare the hydrolysis sample. Now further, when you are going to consider in this, there are few things which we have to understand, especially the enzyme activity. The mass of the enzyme has to be calculated before to subjecting within the substrate, because we are going to take the corresponding amount of the enzyme to the mass of the substrate and to the concentration of the protein ratio. Now when you are going to consider, this will be the formula Me, that is the mass of enzyme required, is equal to mass of the protein in the substrate and the suggested enzyme activity divided by the actual enzyme activity. So here the suggested enzyme activity is of 0.012 Anson unit per gram. So here you can see the same has been taken here, and E is the actual enzyme activity, where when you are going to consider the alkylase has been shown with the two different enzyme activities, that is 0.6 L UIR Anson unit or 2.4 L UI or the Anson unit per gram. Now here when you are going to consider, those are the enzyme activities which will be mentioned by the manufacturer. So what we are required is 0.012 Anson unit or the UI per gram. So here when you are going to consider, these particular values will be subjected into the formula, where Me is equal to 8 grams of the proteins in the substrate into 0.012 Anson unit per gram, that is the A of the formula, that is the suggested enzyme activity, divided by 0.6 Anson unit per gram or the UI per gram. So the result what we got is 0.16 gram for 0.6 L. So the values which has been subjected in the here is for this particular enzyme activity 0.6 L. So what we got is 0.16 gram for 0.6 L. So if we are going to subject the 2.4 Anson unit at the place of 0.6, then the required amount of this particular 2.4 Anson unit or the UI per gram. So here when you are going to consider this, if there is the lesser enzyme activity, then there will be the requirement of the more enzyme. If the enzyme activity is higher of 2.4 Anson, then the requirement of the enzyme will be lesser. So this is what we can understand, and this is how we are going to estimate the required amount of the enzyme as per the suggested enzyme amount, as respectively corresponding with the substrate which we have taken and the protein which is present in that particular substrate. If, for example, as I have spoken, with the help of the Jaldal method, if you are going to get some amount of the protein here which is higher than 8, like 10, here the values are going to differ. So I hope you understood this point. Here the values are going to differ, as we have spoken that there should be the minimum percent is of the 8% of the proteins within this substrate to perform the experiment and to get the particular results. So this is regarding the preparation of hydrolysis samples, which is again continued the next slide, where here the actual preparation which we are doing after preparing these respective requirements. Here we are preparing the hydrolysis sample accordingly, like control preparation, sample preparation. Here in the control preparation, what we are doing, we are going to take the substrate and we are going to mix it with appropriate buffer at desired temperature and pH. We know the desired temperature, that is between 40 to 65. It is good at 60 degree, and pH, you know, the moderate pH 8.5. Now here when you are going to add it this substrate to appropriate buffer, the pH is already set and the temperature will be definitely set to 60 degrees, as there is the water bath. Now here when you are going to consider, before adding to the enzyme, we have added all the required chemicals and the required temperature has been set and pH also set. Before adding to the enzyme, that is the one we should add now. So we are going to collect 1 ml sample and transfer to a glass test tube, and this unhydrolyzed sample is going to act as the control, that is the negative control, will be used for evaluation of free amino groups in the raw material. Now here you people would have understood that without the action of the enzyme, there can be presence of the free amino acids or the free amino groups in the form of the small peptide chains. So here, as we are determining the action of the alkylase enzyme on the protein, how it is going to hydrolyze the protein. So the whatever the already present free amino groups is no meaning for the determination in the further procedure. So here this is going to act as the negative control. Further is that sample preparation. Now further, after collecting the control to this particular mixture, there we are going to add the enzyme, and further we are going to stir the mixture thoroughly and throughout the course of the reaction. So here, throughout the course of the reaction is nothing but to the degree of the hydrolysis which is required to prepare that particular protein substrate, till that particular reaction will be taken. So here there will be the particular duration depending upon the enzyme used. So here, as per our experiment, we have done the 60 to 90 minutes of the stirring, so to collect the samples. Now here in this sample preparation, we are going to take 1 ml of samples at suitable time intervals, like 10, that is after 10 minutes, again after 10 minutes, that is 20 minutes, again after 10 minutes, 30 minutes, again after 10 minutes, that is 40 minutes, again after 10 minutes, 50 minutes, again after 10 minutes, that is 60 minutes. So during the reaction, so each time when you are going to collect this sample, immediately you are going to transfer each sample to a test tube to inactivate the enzyme by one of the two methods given below. So here you are going to lower the pH to 4 with 3 normal HCl by adding this particular measuring of the HCl 10 to 20 microliter in each time collected sample. So for each you have to add to inactivate the enzyme. Either you can do this, or you can collect the sample and you can keep it in the shaking water bath at 85 degrees centigrade for 15 minutes. If you are not using 3 normal HCl, you can use this method or technique to inactivate the sample. So when you are going to use this technique, here you have to keep it for 15 minutes under shaking water bath at 85 degree centigrade. Now here there is a note for this first kind of the inactivation with 3 normal HCl. If you are going to do the inactivation with 3 normal HCl for samples, then these 3 normal HCl, the amount which you have used in this sample, that the same amount has to be added to the control and to the standards also. So you should be very clear in using this, because here it is going to maintain consistent dilution of amino equivalents both in the standard series and also the sample series. So because of that, what will happen, the reaction of the ninhydrin and the color intensity formation and the absorbance is going to have very good correlation to give the results. So here further preparation of the blank is like 1 ml of solvent sodium phosphate buffer. This will be the preparation of the blank. Now you know that the control has to be prepared, samples has to be prepared, and the blank, and you know the note which is respective with this first type of the inactivation of the enzyme. Further is to perform ninhydrin reaction. Here in this ninhydrin reaction performance, we are discussing the preparation of the series, standard series, both for leucine and for proline. Either you can use proline or hydroxyproline. Here we are going to prepare the leucine standard series from 1.5 millimolar, where the series will be having 6 different standards which will be prepared of each of 1 ml of calibration standards, which will be ranging between the 0.01. This should be 0.01. We apologize for this 0.25. It is 0.01 to 0.15 amino milliequivalent per gram in sodium phosphate buffer. So here the calibrations has to be diluted with the help of the sodium phosphate buffer. So each ml of this calibration has to have 0.01 to 0.15 amino milliequivalent per gram. And further, in the same manner, we are going to prepare the proline, where the concentration remains to be same 1.5 millimolar. Either you can use proline or hydroxy proline standards, where the range will be of 0.01 to 0.015 amino milliequivalent per gram. Buffer is going to be the sodium phosphate buffer. Here further we are going to consider the sample which has been previously collected. Further, what is we are going to do is that we are going to add 0.2 ml ninhydrin reagent to each test tube. That is, we are going to add 0.2 ml of ninhydrin reagent to all these test tubes of this standard series of leucine, and to all the test tubes of this proline series, and to all the 6 test tubes of the sample which we have already collected. Now further, after adding the ninhydrin reagent, we are going to mix it thoroughly, and we are going to heat it at 100 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes, and further we are going to cool to room temperature. So during this heating for 10 minutes at 100 degrees centigrade, it is going to give the color. The appearance of purple color is going to be seen, and the yellow color for proline is going to be seen. Purple will be for any amino acid, and further the measurements will be observed 570 nanometer for leucine or any amino acids, and for proline 440 nanometers. In this slide you can see the protocol. We have made this series of 6 samples. Here you can see this is the sample collection of 1 ml each. This is the standard leucine series in ml, and this is the standard proline series in ml, and this is the concentration of the proline and the leucine, that is 0.01, 0.03, 0.06, 0.09, 0.12 and 0.15. Now here for the sample we don't know the concentration. Here we have put the time at the time which we have collected these samples. Now further, as we said, this is the addition of the ninhydrin, and this is the heating of the mixture of all the standards. Now here you can see the absorbance which has been measured for leucine standards, these are the values, and for the absorbance for the proline standards, these are the absorbance, and these are the absorbance of any amino acids of the sample at the 570 nanometer, and these are the absorbance of the proline at 440 nanometers for the same sample. Now these values has been recorded in this table. Further, in forthcoming tables or the slides, those are the analytical slides and quantifying and calculating slides. Next displayed slides will be already nullified with negative controls absorbance from the standard or sample absorbance values. Control absorbance values has been nullified or subtracted from these values. So here next coming slides will be of the standard preparation of leucine and proline, plotting the graph respectively versus the equivalent amino acid standard concentrations. So here, before going to the calibrated graph of the standards, both leucine and the proline, let me have the small discussion that here we can see all the values of the standards of the leucine and the proline, and of the sample for 570 nanometer of any amino acid and the proline of the sample. Now it has been subjected into the graph of the linear curve. It is not the calibrated or linear regression curve. These are the linear standard curves. Here we can analyze these curves to study the absorbance difference. Because of that, we can study that the samples, the standard series samples, which are having the lower absorbance compared to the samples which has been taken to estimate or determine the hydrolysis. Now here the high absorbance or the intensified chromogen has given the high absorbance values. It shows that the amino groups or the free amino acids or the small peptide chains are high in number compared to the amount of the standard series. So here this particular graph can be relatively studied just to observe the difference in the absorbance and to understand the amount of the amino acids has been released corresponding to the taken standard series amount of the amino acids, but it is not to calibrate the values to determine the degree of hydrolysis. Further, in this slide, calibration curve for standard preparation absorbance has been seen. In this, you can see that leucine in milli equivalent per gram against the leucine absorbance at 570 nanometer has been plotted. So here you can see the standard linear line which has been generated, where it is showing the correlation which is very near to the 1 value, that is r square is equal to 0.09596. If r square comes to the 1 value, then it is very exact correlation. So here there is a slight difference, so the correlation is very much near. So here you can see that all the values are correspondingly falling near to the line of the regression, that is the linear regression line. So this will be the linear regression equation, y is equal to mx plus b. So m is having the value and b is having the value. So here this is the linear regression generated value. So further, in the next slide, calibration curve for standard preparation of proline absorbance, where the concentration is put on x-axis and the proline absorbance is subjected in the graph and corresponding to the distributed concentration of the absorbance. So here when you're going to consider the linear regression line has been generated. So here this linear regression line is giving the correlation value of 0.9876, where all the values are very near. And here you can see the linear regression equation, y is equal to mx plus b, where m is 2.7631 and b is 0.0325. So this is the value generated. Now further, these both the graphs are very important. Here with the help of these graphs only, we are going to quantify the hydrolyzed amino groups and degree of hydrolysis of proteins. Now here for each time point we are going to determine the amount of released amino groups by hydrolysis by subtracting the value of the corresponding unhydrolyzed control of the sample, which we have done already after the protocol itself. So here this gives the number of the equivalents of the peptide bonds hydrolyzed expressed as milliequivalent per gram protein from the following equation. Now here in the sense, whatever the calibrated graphs which we have got, those calibrated graphs will be helpful to subject the value in this equation. Now here this equation will be helpful to estimate the hydrolyzed peptide bonds. So when you are going to consider this equation, H is nothing but the hydrolyzed peptide bonds. Here A is the absorbance. Out of the single sample series itself, we have done the absorbance for both the any amino acid and the proline. So by keeping this in the contrast, we are going to subject the absorbance here in this, and the values which are here like m and the b. M is the slope of the correlation and b is the intercept of the y-axis. Those will be subjected in this particular values. And once you are going to subject these values which are present here, which we have already taken in this table, you are going to get the amount of the hydrolyzed amino acids either in the form of the free amino acids or in the form of the short peptide chains or amino groups at each time point is going to give that particular hydrolyzed value. We are going to calculate the hydrolysis separately for 570 nanometer and hydrolysis of sample separately for 440 nanometers. So here this you can see here. So here we have taken time of extraction for the samples. Here this will be the absorbance of any amino acid sample at 570 nanometer. These are the absorbance values after subtracting the negative control value. Now when you are going to consider hydrolysis of this particular absorbance value of any amino acid sample at 570 nanometer will be the values like this, where we have subjected the absorbance of this particular sample absorbance at 570 nanometer. The B and M value will be taken from the Leucine standard series calibration curve. So that will be subjected, and whatever the value you get, you are going to put it here. Further, in this absorbance of proline at 440 nanometer in sample, these are the absorbance values, and here this is also after negative control subtraction. Here in this hydrolyzed formula, the absorbance will be taken from here, and B and M values will be taken from the proline standard series calibration curve or linear regression equation and will be subjected here. So the P and M of this and BM M of this we have already shown here the overall details. Now further, these both hydrolyzed values has to be summed up or added to get the total hydrolysis which has been taken place. So this column of the values and this column of the values for hydrolyzed amino acids or the hydrolyzed proteins has to be summed into this particular column. So these values are nothing but the complete total H values. These are the total H values for proline and these are the total H values for any amino acid except proline. Now further, these particular values will be considered for total hydrolyzed amino acids or the amino groups or the small peptide chains of the proteins. So here they are going to subject these values into this particular formula where H values will be these. When H total remains unknown, 8 amino milliequivalent per gram protein is a good estimate, where actually the H total is the total amount of peptide bonds. So here you know that the proteins will be of 200 to 300 amino acid longer. So here the total amount of the peptide bonds, if we don't know that, then we can take the value of 8 amino acids milliequivalent per gram protein in a good estimate. So here as per the experiment we are taking 8 amino milliequivalent per gram protein is a good estimate. So we are going to subject that in the denominator and we are going to multiply it by the 100. So these are the values what we have got after subjecting these H values divided by the 8 into 100. Now further we have reduced these decimals to 0.082. So these values are corresponding to these values. So this is the DH what we have considered further. Now further here, this is Again, as per our opinion, we have included this column where we have taken the total concentration of milliequivalent of amino acid of both standards. So in the both standard series, we have taken each series with respective amount of the milliequivalent per gram, like 0.01 to 0.15. So here this has been added as similar to the hydrolyzed values. As per to this, here it has been added as similar. We have added those standard concentration values. So here, if it are going to take from the leucine 0.01 and from proline 0.01, it will become 0.02. So the next concentration will be 0.06. Next concentration will be 0.12, 0.18, 0.24 and 0.3. So this has been considered, and as this degree of hydrolysis is going to be remain as the percentage of the hydrolyzed amino groups, where these values will be considered as the percentage. So these values has been multiplied to this standards, where further the hydrolyzed amino acids in milliequivalent per gram is going to be 0.00164, 0.00636, 0.015, 0.02628, 0.03936, 0.0564. So this is the milliequivalent per gram of hydrolyzed amino acids, including both any amino acids and the proline. So this will be the value. So these two columns has been introduced or included as per our opinion. So experiment did not explain this. Experiment has stopped at this particular point, where the percentage of the degree of hydrolysis has been shown. So further we have extended this. Hopefully this will be helpful for the study. If there is any mistake in this inclusion, please write down in the comments, and this ends the experiment. If you have got any doubts or anywhere I have gone wrong or forgotten to speak something, or if you have not understood any point, you can put in the comments and ask me for the clarification. And we have bought this particular information from only two of the places, and the values has been borrowed from a friend where they are performing these experiments, and we tried our level best to explain these experiments. So before to this, we have already uploaded a TNBS based experiment of the similar kind, and also a ninhydrin quantification experiment has been uploaded. All those links will be put in the description, and hope that I have completely given the information accordingly, and I had been audible to you guys, where you people can understand these things. And thank you for watching this particular experiment, and also request to subscribe to our channel, and also advise us how to make better presentations and to give what the information has to be put across or in front of you guys, and also request you to suggest the topics which is very much required to you guys, and we will see that how we can come out with those topics and satisfy you guys with our kind of explanations. Thank you, and hope that you people will enjoy these slides, and help us to spread these slides among your friends and other workmates. Thank you.